The Lions got a monkey off their back, beating division rival Green Bay on the road, something they hadn't accomplished in 24 years. Tonight, Green Bay is looking for a much-needed win in Detroit. With a victory, they pulled within a half game of the Vikings for the division lead. Stephen A., Packers, Lions, who you got?
Well, obviously, I'm going with that bad man. His name is Aaron Rodgers. You know, you got to consider what happened in their first matchup. First of all, Aaron Rodgers threw the ball 61 times. He had no business doing that. Secondly, and more importantly, receivers weren't getting open. I suspect that'll be a bit different. Thirdly, they didn't have Eddie Lacy, and James Starks didn't have the most productive running game imaginable. So it was all about the passing game because they couldn't run the ball at all. Lacy's been back the last 2 games. He's rushed for over 100 yards in both games. Plus, he caught a 25-yard receiving touchdown, I think it's last week or the week before. So I look at it from the perspective that with Eddie Lacy being back, you're going to have more of a running game than you did in the last meeting. More importantly, you're not going to step back to pass 61 times. As a result, you're not going to get sacked, whether it's Reed, Lawson, or whomever that's going to sack you for the Detroit Lions. I don't foresee that happening, or Whitehead for that matter. I don't think that they're going to get to Aaron Rodgers the way that they were able to and pressure Aaron Rodgers the way that they were able to in the previous meeting. I think they're going to see a different Green Bay Packers team that they saw just 3 weeks earlier. It's going to be more typical of the Green Bay Packers we're accustomed to seeing. The bad man that is Aaron Rodgers with a decent running game and a guy in Eddie Lacy who could also catch passes out of the backfield as well. I think the combination of those two things combined with the fact that, again, there's a level of urgency that's kicking in here because Green Bay can't afford to lose again because Minnesota regained the lead in the NFC North. You can't afford to lose another game and then fall a game and a half back and potentially 2 games after this weekend. The level of even though Detroit has been playing better football, and it's a testament to give Jim Caldwell credit, who I don't believe to be the greatest coach, but at the same time, he has kept them energized and playing hard, and they have won 3 in a row, and they're fresh off of shellacking the Philadelphia Eagles on Thanksgiving Day. I think that despite the way that they've been playing, the level of urgency falls along the lines of Green Bay. And I'm going to give urgency a nod over playing loosey-goosey with nothing to gain because your season is pretty much over. And I think because of that, I think that urgency will propel the Green Bay Packers. It will be a tight, hard-fought game. But it will come down to Aaron Rodgers needing to make a difference in some capacity, and I think that he will, and they'll be able to close the deal. I'm going to pick Green Bay to win tonight's game, something along the lines of 27-24.
Okay. You're probably right about everything you just said. Green Bay is a 3-point favorite at Detroit. Green Bay is 7-4, and Detroit is 4-7. But I'm picking the Lions in this game.
Really?
And I will tell you why. Something has happened in Detroit. They cleaned house a little bit. New coordinator, Jim Bob Cooter.
Yep.
Peyton's
Say it again. Jim Bob Cooter.
By the way,
what a name.
Close friend of Peyton Manning's, was Peyton's coach or sort of assistant, you might say, in Indy, and Peyton took him with him to Denver. Peyton swears by him, says he's very smart. So I wouldn't underestimate the impact that Jim Bob has been having on Matthew Stafford.
He's had a positive impact.
Okay,
absolutely.
Right. So as we know, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the 1-7 Lions won at Green Bay that we talked about. What was that? 18-16.
Yeah.
Then they went home and they beat Oakland 18-13. Then they destroyed the Eagles. I watched all that game, the first game obviously on Thanksgiving, and I didn't think it was completely about how bad the Eagles were or how much they quit on Chip Kelly. I thought it was also, in part, about how explosive Matt Stafford suddenly looked again with all the weapons, starting with Megatron that he has, right?
Yeah.
Okay? So then I start thinking about what has Green Bay done of late? They have lost 4 out of 5, and the one little beacon in all that was when, and I picked him, I was with you, when Aaron Rodgers and company went to Minnesota for a big showdown. Remember that? That was Teddy Bridgewater on the other side at quarterback, and we both agreed Minnesota looked not quite ready for that primetime game. Am I right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah, Teddy Bridgewater. Yeah.
And Adrian Peterson was held 45 yards. Okay.
Yeah. So now we have the Detroit Lions, who got off a woeful 1-7 start. But what were they last year? They were a playoff team last year. And by the way, I got to give it up. You know, they got a really bogus call against them. It was earlier in the fourth quarter. I didn't think it changed and won the game, but it was a bogus call.
It touches my heart that you're willing to admit that.
I admit that.
I'm proud of you.
But my point is, the Lions were certainly in that game down to the final drop at Jerry World against my Cowboys. They lost, but they were there.
Okay.
And a lot of people thought they were going to win that game, if memory serves, maybe even including you.
Right.
But my point is, that's a playoff team last year. That wasn't Teddy Bridgewater. You know, this is Matthew Stafford. He's been really good in this league a lot of times, and he's been really bad. But all of a sudden, everything's clicking for Matthew Stafford. I liked what I saw on Thanksgiving Day, and I don't think it was a fluke that they won at Green Bay.
Right.
And the bad man that is Aaron Rodgers, I look at these numbers and I say, wait a second. He's just been bad for about 4 straight weeks, because 4 straight weeks he's been under 60%. That's 2 games longer than any sub 60% stretch in his whole career, Aaron Rodgers. He has been in a 4-game slump. I think it is undeniable. Now, for this year, he's at a career low 60.5 completion percentage with a career low 6.9 yards per attempt. Something's wrong. If you want to dump it on the receivers, you dump it. But something is going awry in the psyche of the bad man that is Aaron Rodgers. He's just not himself right now.
But see, that's where you and I part ways, because you put so much on him, which is fair on its face when we're talking about him being the superstar, him being that bad man that I know he is. I am saying to you that, logically speaking, I look at the quarterback, I inherently must look at your receivers. I must look at your ability to get open and ask myself, are the receivers open? Whether it's Adams, whether it's Jones, whether it's Randall Cobb. Listen, Jordy Nelson being there.
He misses him. I give you that one.
It's not just that. It wasn't just about him. It's the attention that he drew and what it enabled Randall Cobb. See, to me, and I'm not knocking Randall Cobb like he can't play, but it shows me why Jordy Nelson was #1 and Randall Cobb was #2. Because Randall Cobb hasn't stepped up and handled the responsibilities of being the #1 because he has a more difficult time than Jordy Nelson does of getting open and drawing attention. If you're Aaron Rodgers, Skip, you don't win a Super Bowl and be great for the amount of years that he has been great, and then suddenly you're standing in the pocket and you're hesitant to throw or whatever. Your arm strength, your velocity, your accuracy has not faded. It's the same. What has happened is you're literally waiting for guys to get open. And I don't think that you can ignore that when it comes to Aaron Rodgers. I don't care how great you are as a quarterback. If your receivers ain't open, you're not going to look good.
Okay. I'm not going to go to the Tom Brady comparison here because it's just not fair. But Tom Brady would figure this out with this group. But that's a whole other issue.
Can I tell you what Tom Brady would figure out? Can I tell you what Tom Brady would figure out?
Yeah.
Tom Brady would figure out what routes they need to be running to get open. If you said something like that, then I could say to you, put the responsibility on Aaron Rodgers as much as McCarthy when it comes to that, but not like, oh my goodness, they're not open, so he should still find a way to get it to them.
Bottom line, Aaron Rodgers has lost confidence in his receivers and in himself. Then in himself.
That's fair. I stand. I will give that up to Skip Bayless. He has lost confidence in those receivers. Absolutely.
And ultimately in himself.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Well, the Lions.
And by the way, I'm going 24-22 home team. 24-22.
Speaking of Tom Brady, you know who loves him in the Patriots? Dana White. Joining us now, the UFC president is in the house. He's here on behalf of EA Sports, and he has a special announcement live on Periscope right now for all of you at home.
It's never happened in sports history. So, yeah.
Dana White's here, and we need to make sure to head over to Twitter and give your best reaction to our special UFC cover athlete here. It's a favorite UFC moment of the year using my hashtag here, Dana White on First Take. One lucky viewer will win a custom EA Sports UFC 2 PlayStation 4. Stay tuned for that. He'll be with us in a moment.